So the most scariest moment in my life occurred probably about 5 minutes into my very first improv class. We're all sitting there, and we were brought up on stage, and we were told, okay, we're going to take a suggestion, and you need to sing a song based on this suggestion. And at that moment, I looked down at my backpack, which was here, and then I looked at the door over here, to get out of the theater, and I was thinking, okay, which is going to be less humiliating, for me to sit here and sing, or to go get my backpack and then walk out the door? And as I was doing the cost-benefit analysis, it was all of a sudden my turn, and I was belting out Copacabana. So, but I just was so close to leaving. And I studied here at Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. This was about 2 years before Amy Poehler went to SNL. And so I got to spend 2 years working with these folks, and then later got to do some extra work with Amy on SNL on occasion and write for Weekend Update a bit as a freelancer. And I almost lost that opportunity because I was this close to letting fear take over. What we learned there is the Herald. It's a long-form format. It's a 30-minute show where you have a troupe go up there, you take one word from the audience, and you build a play of 9 acts in front of the audience. That's a pretty scary place to be when you first start out. It's terrifying, actually. But then you learn these rules, and it's like, hey, we can build a judgment-free community here. We can actually trust each other and truly collaborate, which is a word I usually don't use anymore. And you completely transform this place that's actually pretty fearful. Another environment where there's a lot of fear, corporate marketing. All right? This is where I've spent a lot of my life. I still have a day job in this business. And unfortunately, there is a lot of fear there for a lot of different reasons. I think it shuts down creativity, and it also creates complexity. And I worked for a global technology company where I found this to be true. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I'm not supposed to, the attorneys won't let me mention the name, but I can describe it as an international business machines company. We realized that our marketing was way too complex and the messaging was way too complex. So we came up with a simplification process. And we got a bunch of people in the room. We had this conference meeting, and we said, let's figure out how to be more simple. And this is what we came up with. Now, I understand maybe not everybody in the room can read this. All right, you just need to focus here on these bottom boxes is where the key content is. Now, that's a negative 13-point font, but it is Helvetica. So easy to read. Listen, if you're trying to make things more simple and you take the word simple and more than double the number of syllables in that word to describe your process, that's a good clue. You really don't know what that word means. But this happens all the time. And you guys know never to show a slide like this if that's busy. Never do that unless you're meeting one-on-one. And sometimes I'll do that when I'm having an interlock with my wife. So here's a slide from this morning's meeting. Then it's okay. There are a few exceptions to every rule. I came to this conclusion after working there for a while, that there's an inverse correlation with the number of slides in your deck and how well you know your topic, okay? Spend a little more time, get to know it. That's what we needed to do there. So let's get to the principles on how you can change and stop some of this behavior. Very simple things. Yes and is the foundation principle of improv, and all that is simply is agreement. You agree with your partner and you move the conversation forward. Tina Fey talks about in her book, Bossy Pants, that David Meerman Scott turned me on to. Partner comes out, and you're standing there with your partner, and your partner says, I have a gun. And then you would say, the gun I gave you for Christmas, you bastard. So you're adding more information, you're moving the conversation forward. You don't say, you don't have a gun. It won't work. It shuts everything down. Unfortunately, we do denial all the time in the corporate world. What is the number one barrier to creative teamwork? That's right, the committee meeting. Exactly. That's what shuts it down. How many people have been on a conference call, just a show of hands, or in a committee meeting? Okay, 1, 2, 3, a couple of people in the back. For those of you who haven't, I'll give you a quick education here on what that is. This is what a committee looks like, okay? Even if you're a sole proprietor, your committees should look like this. It's important, okay? Let me go through the roles real quick. You have a facilitator, a scribe, a timekeeper, and a scapegoat, okay? Unfortunately, we say collaboration so often in a lot of organizations, and we have these committee meetings, but a lot of these committee meetings are about placing blame, reducing risk, and taking credit. And you have to change that, and it's not that difficult. So what you do is yes and. If you're in a committee meeting and you can't do yes and there, you can't agree with people, then try it offline. Seriously, go one-on-one, meet with somebody, have a cup of coffee, and understand, listen, truly listen to what they're saying, and understand what their motivation is. Let them get to know you and build trust there. And start there, and it will start to change in the committee. The preemptive yes and. Okay, I like to think one of the most important, powerful questions in managing any conflict is to understand, how can I help my partner be successful? My partner or the person on the other end of the table who you're arguing with. Understand how they're graded on success at work and see what you can do within your line of work to help them reach their goals. And be sincere about it, but it makes a difference in the relationship. This is how we made this silly, ridiculous video at IBM in 2006. It's called The Art of the Sale. And that's basically what we did. I went to, I knew it wouldn't work in the committee. I went to one vice president who had enough influence and also who liked new ideas. He liked the bright and shiny object. I pitched the idea. He said, fine, went and wrote the script. We produced it. And then we came back and presented it to people after the fact. Because comedy just wouldn't work in a corporate committee, certainly not at that organization. Number 2, accept mistakes as gifts. When you're on stage doing improv, there are no mistakes. You just have to, through practice, you understand there are no mistakes. If you forget your lines, you don't have lines, but if you blank and don't respond, then that's a gift. And you just discover what that means for the character. It's the same thing here in the business community as well. You have to get there and really believe. You can't say it, you have to believe it. PBS Digital Studios. PBS did have some online video, but a year ago they started this, beginning of 2012, the Digital Studios group. And what they added to your performance review, to the metric, is how many times have you failed in the last 12 months? I mean, true failure, where you really put some effort into it, it was a thoughtful plan, but it failed. That's part of how you get paid. They want to see people fail, and they're building a culture based on that to create change. And here's what's happened. In the first year, this is the Webbies this year, they won 7 Webbies. Their views from previously, 2 million a month, went to 225 million a month. Just because people are like, okay, let's try crazy ideas because we can't fail, and if we do, I get paid for it. So it's a good thing. Estes Park, I'm not gonna have time for this story, I don't think, but if you Google haunted cheeseburgers, you can read the story. I'm sure that makes sense. I ended up here in this place 2 weeks after I had one of the most spectacular YouTube failures of my life. It was amazing. Everybody knew about it. It was a terrible, terrible thing. And I really thought, I cried with David about this a lot. I really thought it was over. I've had some good videos do well, and careers come of it. And I thought after this one failure, I figured it's over. I got to go work in procurement or something like that. And I really was. I was depressed for at least 2 weeks, and then I came here and I heard 2 stories, and they're on the blog. I put a blog post up today that links to that. One of them, Stephen King and how The Shining came to be, which is a fascinating story, which happened here in Estes Park as well. Follow the fear, speaking of Stephen King. Del Close, who's considered the father of long-form improv, used to say, follow the fear. That's what he would preach. And this is one of the theaters that I work at in New York. It's called Pitt. And Ali, who owns the theater, painted that on the back of that. That's a stage shot from the stage, where just to remind people. And what Del was saying is when you're on stage and your partner says something to you, 3 ideas will pop in your head, and one of them will scare the heck out of you. That's the one you have to chase. And I've learned that. Anytime an opportunity's come up to me and I've thought, okay, somebody's not going to like this, or I'm unqualified for it, and I've pushed through somehow, it's been one of the greatest things I've ever done, one of the things I'm most proud of, and one of the things that's given me the most joy. So that's a challenge. The next time you think, I'm unqualified for this opportunity, push through it. Story trumps messaging. This is kind of one of the things that I thought would get me in trouble at work, working for a marketing department. The challenge we have a lot of times in some companies is our budget and our metrics and our grades all come from marketing, and marketing many times, not inbound, but marketing's about, let me talk about me. Let me tell you about my product. Did you memorize my slogan? I suggest, throw that away. We got to throw that away. And sometimes that idea doesn't float too well when you're in marketing, all right? But because people think comedy and humor don't work well in marketing. But look at the numbers. 73% of people who read corporate blogs are people, okay? Those are the data. And I know some people think that's unbelievable, but look, there's a pie chart. So that works. And just the point is, in B2B, where I've come from, we think you can't be funny, you can't be entertaining, you can't tell stories. We have to have white papers and be complex. Look, there's plenty of time to be complex in other situations, but not in this space, not in what we're trying to do. I've always said, if you don't have a compelling story to tell, show pictures of sharks. That's the first rule. First rule of inbound. You all know that, and I'm not trying to speak down to you. One thing we did is we went and shot a video. While one team was trying to line up customers for videos, we said, look, let's just go to the aquarium, and let's talk to the aquarium about how they use a wireless network, which is what my company helps to do. And we told a story there, and it was really, it was spectacle. It was these beautiful shots of things, and it worked out, of sharks, et cetera, and it worked well. At IBM, when I was at the Smarter Planet, we used spectacle as well. We blew up a trash can with John Cohn, which was a lot of fun. We created this series called Mad Science, and we did all kinds of crazy stunts, and we just had a lot of fun with it. For Smarter Planet, kind of the Internet of Things idea, we did something on Smarter Food. How do you monitor the food that you're shipping and understand when it's gotten too warm and it's no longer safe, and you integrate all that data. Well, what we did is we did a short story of a chicken, frozen chicken, making an OnStar call after his truck broke down in the desert. Absolutely absurd, but it worked. And we got calls from a lot of the federal agencies and the government who work in this area that wanted to show our video on Capitol Hill. It worked, but I really did. I thought I was gonna get fired for that one too. Anyway, let me cut. We did a documentary that did well too. I think it's always important to remind people, create a little slide like this with screenshots and send it around so people remember, hey, wait, this stuff works, we'll give you more budget. Cisco, we had a launch of a $250,000 router, and we didn't have anything interesting to say about it, so we did, and I'll show this video here in just a second. We pitched it as the perfect gift for your Valentine. So let me just close with this video here, if we can get this running.
How many ways can a man tell his sweetheart, I love you? Until now, the answer was 3. He could buy her expensive diamonds. He could take her on a tropical vacation. Or he could carve his initials into a tree, then carve a heart, and then carve her initials. But now, he can give her the ultimate expression of his everlasting affection. The Cisco ASR 9000. Because nothing says forever like up to 6.4 terabits per second. Nothing says commitment like up to 400 Gbps per slot. And nothing says I love you like 6 times the mobile backhaul capacity. How many ways can a man say I love you? The answer is 4. The Cisco ASR 9000.
All right, thank you so much. Follow the fear.